I did, because back then hiring was far different than it is in the police world now.
Yep.
For instance, you'd have a small town like Pelham, great community, smaller police department. At the time, I believe there were around 20 officers.
Yep.
They'd have one vacant position for a full-time police officer. You'd get 300-400 people applying for one
Whoa.
position. And contrast that to modern days, I have 2 open positions now. We had 26 people show up for our last open recruitment. So
Why is that, you think?
it's gone down. It's nationwide.
Yeah.
It's gone down over the years, and it's just gotten into a point where the job isn't appealing anymore. The economy's very good. The fact of the old staple of civil service, where you made a decent salary, you had decent benefits, you don't have that allure anymore. There's a lot of different options available for I don't want to say options, but I've seen interest decline over the years, and then certainly the social media and certainly the current climate in the country is tough to recruit people in. But what I always say is, while our numbers of applicants may be down, the quality of candidates is right up there.
Yeah.
And I am very pleased with the officers that we've hired over the last 2, 3, 4 years.
That's great.
It's great, and I think it shows in the community.
Well, it's funny, right? So a few things you said there that I think are interesting, right? So you have fewer candidates, better quality, and that goes in line with, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing nationwide that you were talking about, right? So
Sure.
A lot of folks don't want to get in because of, all the stuff that you see on TV, and it's probably, for some people, they're afraid to get in a situation where they could be held liable or this, that, and the other thing. Is that what you're saying regarding the national?
Yeah, well, to be afraid that's one of the worst things that a police officer could. I mean,
Absolutely.
well, I don't want to say afraid, because fear can keep you alive sometimes too. If the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up on some calls, that'll make you slow down instead of rushing into an incident. But to have hesitation,
right,
can lead to injuries, not only to the officer but to an innocent third party. Or,
right.
We've seen it in some areas, in some local areas in Massachusetts, where officers were fatally injured because of what they thought was some hesitation.
Yeah.
So.
And I know we're kind of sidetracking from talking about you, but I think this is an interesting piece of it, right? And I think it's important, right? Because I grew up in my family. I had a number of family members, a few different family members. One of my uncles was in the police department for 35 years in Salem, Massachusetts. So I've always had a lot of respect for law enforcement, and and knowing police officers personally, understanding where you're coming from as well, kind of, and friends and things like that. So when people see, like you're talking about hesitation, people getting injured, all the stuff we've seen over the last year, in some cases, not understandable. But from a police officer's perspective, you're just trying to do the best you can, right? And you're trying to do what you think is right, but you're in these difficult situations that you can't always have a perfect plan as to what's always going to happen, correct?
Sure. Correct. And we have a very robust training division. We do a lot of training, and you train for as many scenarios as you can come up with.
Yep.
We take real life scenarios and put our officers in them to see how they would act.
Yep.
But you can't train for that moment. You can't reproduce or create what your adrenaline's going to be,
Correct.
what your fear factor is going to be.
Yep.
That's tough to create in a training environment. So you just try to go with try to give officers the best training that we can,
Yep.
and have them trust in their training and trust in the skills and trust in the policies.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's true across the country, and you'll see some things. And I'm not going to sit here and say, a lot of what we see play out on television that the officers are 100% right. I'd be lying to you, and
Sure.
and I'd lose some legitimacy on that.
Yeah.
But we make mistakes.
Right. Because you're people,
and
human beings.
you know, as with any profession, there might be some people in the profession that shouldn't be in the profession.
Correct.
And I'll certainly say that. So you go through, and that's one of the things we've done here, is that, as I said, the number of candidates are down. We're not going to lower our hiring standards. We're not going to lower what we expect of our officers just to fill an open vacancy. I'd rather carry an open vacancy for a little bit, just as opposed to put somebody in that position just to have that position filled. Because you see that's what you see play out across the country sometimes is bad hiring practices, bad screening of candidates, bad training.
Yep.
And I don't think I want to, not that I don't think, I know I pledge to the community that as long as I'm here, the Salem Police Department will operate like that.
Awesome. I love that. I think that, and that's what people need to know and understand. Now, do you think in cases where that happens, right, and they get people that might not, poor screening, not as much training as they should have, do you think that's because, there's just such a need that in those communities, in those areas, cities, wherever it may be, that they're taking whoever they can get? Is that the reason that stuff is happening? Or?
I think in some instances that could be it. Yeah, you look at, we're a large department for New Hampshire. We're probably a medium-sized department across the country. You look at some larger cities or some even rural areas, that your candidate pool is smaller, or you have so many vacancies that you need to fill them to get people out there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy of a solution as I think some people think it may be, fixing the problem with, the stuff they see on TV, the police brutality and this, that, it goes, it has to do with training, it has to do with, the amount of people that are available to come in, the desire to take these positions.
Sure.
And I think you've got it spot on right here in Salem. So I'm happy to hear all these things you're saying, and I'm sure everyone else will too, because that makes everyone feel more comfortable in knowing that the quality of the officers is top notch.
Sure.
How many? You were talking about the size of the department. How many full-time officers are in Salem?
So we're 68 full-time officers now. We have about 16 part-time officers. A lot of our part-time officers are retired officers that stay on and work, assist us with the road work we have in town. Obviously, with Salem experiencing tremendous growth right now. So a lot of road work in Salem, and then we have 102 total employees with civilians as well.
Wow, that's pretty.
So,
that's good size.
Yeah, we're decent size. Well, and what I had wanted to say on one of the previous questions is just talking about hiring, and going back to that is in some of the, I think you had touched on it briefly, of people thinking it's just easy that, just hire them and put them on the street, or hire someone else to go and do some of the responsibilities that we're entrusted to complete. It takes me probably a year and a half to almost 2 years to get someone train where we're putting them on the street by themselves.
Really?
So that's another reason why we like hiring a lateral officer, because they've gone through a lot of the stuff.
I didn't know that.
So if we post a test, so if I have an opening and I'm doing a hiring process, I have to advertise for a written exam.
Okay.
And so we'll do the written exam. That it could be posted for a month, however long we post it. And then it's a couple of days. I think that they do a lot of it on Indeed, a lot of it online now. I know that back in the day they used to probably Eagle Tribune and Union Leader. But we post a job. We do the physical agility test and a written test, and then we do an oral board interview with officers. We then do a chief's interview. And then we conduct a background investigation. Background investigation could take a month to 6 weeks. So now from the time we posted the test to where we've completed the background investigation might be 4 or 5 months down. 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road. And then we hire them. There's only 3 academies sessions in New Hampshire per year.
Okay.
I think they're up to 16 weeks now. So we have to send them away for 4 months.
Where's that?
That's in Concord.
Okay.
It's right on the campus of New Hampshire Technical Institute.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can see right on the highway. You can see the police academy right there. So they're gone for four months from then, and then we bring them back. We train them in-house for a minimum of 12 weeks with the field training officer before so now you're almost a year into that, right at that point, before they're even released to solo patrol.
Right.
And then as you start any new job, especially when you're dealing with the human humans, human personalities and human psyche, it's probably another year, 2 years before they're really comfortable and doing everything that they need to do.
That's good. I had no idea about that. I had no idea that was the process. That's good to know. And that probably also gives people another level of comfortability.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Knowing the amount of training these guys go through, even just to get out on their own.
Yep.
You know, that's huge. I had no idea. Now, what type of requirements are there? Say there's someone who's, you know, a young person that wants to get into law enforcement. What are the basic requirements for them to even start that process?
Well, right now, we don't require any degrees, so you have to be 21 years of age.
Okay.
And the academy has some rules. You have to be right now that they're looking to maybe change it, but by rules you have to be a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And then we only require right now a high school diploma or a GED.
Yep.
But most of anyone we see coming through has some level of either military or college.
Yeah.
So it's some are coming to us applying that they're already either halfway through or completed their master's degrees.
Oh, wow.
You know, some of the programs now you can get you're blasting your master's degree out in 5 years.
Right.
So we have some applicants that are coming to us already with their master's degree.
Well, that's great.
So the minimum qualifications are, but then it's a competitive process. So
Right.
if you're coming in with high school diploma and apples to apples, and we have someone with a master's degree, they might be a little bit more polished. Not just that they're better, they might just be more polished in interviews and they present better. So it's
and that is a factor in any job.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The level of education, experience, things like that. A lot of the guys on the force are former military as well, right?
We have
A handful.
It's
Quite a bit.
I want to say because they do over Veterans Day, some of the associations drop off some, and I want to say our number right now is about 16 or 17 veterans.
Yeah. And that's good. I mean, because at that point, right, these guys, and especially, what we've been going through the last 20 years, you know what I mean, where there's actually, there's been a lot of people overseas actually, and, it's been war,
Sure.
So a lot of these guys have actually, experienced stressful situations already. And so when they're coming back, you know what I mean, they've had some of these similar experiences.
Yep.